Today we're here at Gentiana Nursery and Craig Wilson is going to show us how to prune a Japanese maple. Here it is in leaf. We're going to prune it in winter so that you can see the whole process more easily.
Okay, this is a dissectum maple called Orangeolo. Orangeolo falls quite sharply rather than spreads out. So when I'm pruning that, I'm going to be taking that into consideration. The plant's been in the ground 10, 12 years, I suppose, and it's never been pruned, which is really a bit foolish. Small amounts regularly is much better than doing to the plant what I'm going to do today. But you can see that it's a congested mess. It's full of dead wood, it's full of weak twigs, it's full of crossing branches. So we're going to sort all that out. I start from the top down. So you want the lower branches to be longer than the top. Pruning the top is going to put more strength into these, which is getting a bit weaker. And of course we'll also take all the dead wood out of it. You can tell the dead wood by the colour of it. For those of you who don't know, it's really obvious to see. The smaller pieces can break off, and the bigger pieces you need to cut. There's some really weak twigs in here too. When you're pruning these guys, you need to think about the future rather than how it's going to look. Because the pruning I'm doing today, you really won't see the impact of it for another 12 to 18 months when the tree fills back in again. And you've got to cut with regrowth in mind. So don't cut them at the length you want rather than the length they're going to grow into when you're shortening branches. Because Orangeolo falls so sharply, my inclination is to cut to an upward facing bud, because that'll then immediately turn around and go down again. You see this branch here, can you get in there? Not doing anything for the tree, it's just clutter. And it's going to rub eventually against this and wound it. There's another branch here that's died back completely from shading. If you keep the trees open and you prune them regularly, you don't get that kind of dieback. This is really just getting rid of the dead wood. My inclination is to take this piece out completely because he's filling the same space as the stronger. Oh, hang on. That's not good. No, I've just followed this branch back and I can see that it's really crossing the trunk badly and it's already starting to wound it. So the initial decision was wrong and this is the one that's got to go. So that's opened up a bit of a hole in the canopy, but that's okay because I can fill that, and this branch here, now that it's getting some light, will shoot back. So it's going to look a bit bare for a year or so. Now with these guys, coming from the top, they need to be shortened so that this part of the tree gets more light, and they need to be shortened with regrowth in mind. So don't shorten them where you want them to look good now rather than in 12 to 18 months. So I'll shorten it quite hard. And then this is starting to interfere with the hedge. So we'll just shorten it a little bit. Okay. Now, just about finished this section. So what I do on the tips is, can you get that?
Yep.
Select a point where there's 2 buds. Actually, that's a better one to do because it's say in here. Shorten it back and then shorten the buds, which means that when they shoot back, you'll get 2 growths from that point rather than just the tip. Okay. If this is done regularly, and when I say regularly, every couple of years, then it's going to be quite a quick process. The worst thing you can do when pruning the maples is just to prune the skirt and not touch the top. If you want to keep your maples in that formal sort of lollipop shape, when you're pruning the skirt, you also need to prune the top. Otherwise, they just become a horrible tangle. I'm looking for growths that are going into the tree. You want all of the growth coming out like that. I kind of don't like this one. It's too strong in the crown. That's better. So in this situation here, you see it's up against the hedge, and the temptation is to cut it to that cluster of buds, but then I think by the time they regrow, they're going to be growing back into the hedge again. So I'm going to take it right back, and that gives the tree a bit of a chance to regrow. And then you see this piece here is being severely shaded by this piece. So if I don't deal with that, it'll weaken and die off. The graft of the trees here, so anything below the graft, I tend to break them off. It has less chance of reshooting. I'm just taking away all the weak buds on the interior of the tree. And then again, I've got to shorten this back from the hedge. And I'll do it quite, possibly to there. And shorten that one. And then we have to look at the shoot above it or the branch above it, that it's not shading that too much. There's a couple of branches in here that are going nowhere and never are going to. Okay. This is a beautiful branch. If you prune it carefully with a really steep hanging branch like that, you can create nice steps of foliage going down underneath. Just getting rid of all the dead wood and the clutter that's heading off in the wrong direction. In fact, that whole pity this branch is more at the back of the tree because it's a beauty. So prune that one back. So we make one step of foliage here. Another one. And shorten it a bit. Anything coming down underneath. So you can see the steps, actually that one's, these two branches are too close, so they're going to be in competition with each other. So I'll cut that one off and this one will fill in. This is way too strong. So it's a big strong branch like that's going to suck energy from the rest of the branch. Okay. So you've got a situation here. See, there's the branch that's coming off and the sub branch has tangled with this. That goes into there. My feeling is of these two is that this is the one that should go. I'll tidy these wounds up later. That's better. The centre one out. I think that's okay for now. Sometimes if you're not happy with a section, you just cut it back and then the next prune you revisit it. The situation will have changed a bit. You can see I'm pruning these big strong branches on the top quite hard. Okay, there's another one in here that's going nowhere. To keep or not to keep? No. If in doubt, cut it off. The beauty of deciduous trees is if you make a blunder, they're going to shoot back and you can just come back to them. Whereas with conifers, if you make a blunder, it's kind of a bit more permanent. Okay, I think it's getting a good structure. Okay, so if I want to keep this branch down here, then I've got to prune that one. But then I could take this one off, this one down here, and keep that one, which is if in doubt. Yeah, that's it.
So what we're trying to do is to not have branches shading out others beneath them.
That's right. You've got to kind of shift the strength. You see this piece here is way stronger than that. So if I leave this unpruned, it's going to take over and this is going to die back and end up looking like that. Yeah.
So by opening up the whole structure, we're also preventing the dead wood beneath.
Yeah, well, there is no dead wood because the whole thing's open and it can breathe and yeah. So you do get a little bit, but nothing like what was on it. So just getting back to this one, I'll take the centre one out. So we've got two. And then I'll just shorten these guys. See, we've got a bit of a bare space in here where I took that branch there. But look, it'll fill out. By this time next year, you'll hardly know it's happened. So I've opened this right out. So it's going to get plenty of light. So I just do the tips on these ones because they're not strong. And you look at that one. No, it's gone. That's better. Okay, this branch here has taken a real hammering from the foliage above it. So first thing I'll do is give it some light. Take that one out. Okay, it still needs a bit more.
So this sort of pruning is also going to give it a much more delicate sort of look as well. It's going to allow the foliage to sort of...
That's right, and when the tree's in leaf, you're still going to get glimpses of the structure, which is of course exposed in winter, rather than just having a solid blob of... it's not going to be sparse, but there'll be areas where you can see in.
So we're pruning for the structure during winter to some extent, which is sort
On
of
both.
Which is sort of a Japanese sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It certainly looks, well, to me it looks better, and it's a little bit drastic because it's the first time it's been done, but each year it gets a little bit less. You see there's one here coming down and going right across the top of that branch, and it's completely unnecessary. That's better. I mean, you could keep going all day, but it reaches a point where we've got to walk away.
With the Japanese maple, do you fertilise them at all?
Mulch and compost. So, you know, I'll chuck half a barrow load of compost on them and then put a load of wood chip on top of that, and that's about all they get.
And when do you do that in spring?
When I feel the urge.
Anytime's a good time to mulch.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't water them, ever.
For more information on Japanese maples and how to prune a whole range of other plants, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Visit the website for detailed notes on how to grow a whole range of plants.